How's it going, everybody? Anthony Alfredo here. We'll get this post-race Q&A started. Obviously, raced Talladega Superspeedway on Saturday. First Superspeedway race in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And second ever. I raced a truck at Talladega Superspeedway last year, but almost none of that translated. It was very different. So second ever Superspeedway race. It was awesome. I love that type of racing. My first two starts so far have gone well. Like I said before, though, it's very different in the Xfinity Series, and I really enjoyed it. So it was a successful weekend. I'll just run through it super quickly and briefly because you'll have a lot of questions regarding it, I'm sure. But led my first laps in the series. Obviously, had another top 10 finish, finished sixth, just one spot short of another top 5, but our average finish is now 8.5 in my first 6 NASCAR Xfinity Series races. So I'm very proud about that. That's a total team effort. Everyone at Richard Childress Racing, all the men and women who work there, my road crew, my crew chief Andy Street's been doing a great job. Everybody else on the team, my spotter Derek Nealon. It was actually his birthday Saturday, so I was hoping we could win, and we didn't, but we came close. We put ourselves in good position. And of course, my pit crew and all of our amazing partners. We had Dude Wipes on the car for the first time this weekend, rocking my Dude Wipes shirt, and the car looked great on track, and I know it looked even better leading the pack. So it was just another successful weekend. I'm getting better every week. We're getting better as a team every week. And I'm just very thankful to be in the position I'm in. I have a lot of people to thank for getting me here and helping me, pushing me to be better and allowing me to continue to progress in my career and climb the ranks. So I wanted to share the experience with you all. I would have done this yesterday like usual, the Monday following a race, but the Cup race had got rained out Sunday, as you all know, and they raced yesterday. So I figured I'd postpone it to today and push it back a little bit. But let's get running through the questions here. Great race. I was hoping that you would win, but still did well. I was happy to see you lead some laps. Great race. It was awesome to lead laps, and when we weren't leading, we were running in the top 3, top 5 most of the day. The only time we were outside of the top 10 in general was actually when I had Sped coming to pit road on our green flag stop. And put it this way, that was my first time doing a live green flag stop, actually third in the Xfinity Series because I did one in each race at Homestead in the twin races. But at Talladega, you're going 200 miles per hour, and you have much smaller brakes on the Superspeedway car, so it's a lot harder to get them slowed down. And with no practice or qualifying or anything like that, there's no way I was able to practice that. Even when cautions had come out prior to that, you can't really feel the stopping power you have because under caution you're going 70 miles an hour. So when you hit pit road hot at 200 when you're in the pack and you have to pull off the track and you have teammates coming with you from behind, I was actually worried about overslowing the car and being in the way of Ross Chastain, Justin Haley, AJ Allmendinger, and some of our other Chevrolet teammates, and obviously our ECR engine teammates. Colleague Racing's an affiliate of ours. So just a side note, really happy that they were able to get the win with Justin Haley. It's cool an ECR engine still got the win because we ran up front all day. We couldn't get it done. Obviously, they're who we want to see get it done next in line. So solid day for our organization as a whole, but coming to pit road's a challenge. Like I said, making that green flag stop wasn't easy, and like I said, I was worried about getting hit from behind, but I ended up just coming in too hard, and it was a green flag stop. We were planning on doing fuel only, so I couldn't slide the tires. I couldn't lock them up coming in the pit box, so when I was coming to pit road, I felt like I was going to overshoot it or be speeding on pit road entry. I could not get the car wound up enough without sliding the tires, so I kind of had to bite the bullet there and unfortunately speed on pit road entry, but everyone kind of, almost disregarded that and were like, there's no way you would have known without being able to practice it, and did a good job otherwise. And not to mention the fact that we rebounded from that. We got back up to the front of the field come the end, and even when cars were single file, our Dude Wipe Chevrolet was so fast we were able to make passes by ourselves. Everyone was running against the top, and I would pull down, and I passed 7 cars in one corner at once. Just kept leapfrogging our way back up to the front. So that, like I said earlier, that was the only time we really were out of the top 10. But man, it was just nice to run up front all day and very rewarding, and just, as I said earlier, a complete team effort. Miss Sunday sessions in TDM Discord. I miss those too, man, for sure. It was we got to get back in there, and hopefully in the off season we'll be doing some Pro Invitational Series races. And another fun fact, I actually ran the Dude Wipes Chevrolet Camaro paint scheme, a little bit modified. It had chrome on the front and stuff, which we couldn't do in real life, but that's what I ran on iRacing in the Pro Invitational Series race at Talladega, where I was actually leading on the last lap and we crashed. So we made it one lap further this time. We didn't win, but still were able to lead laps and run up front and go from sim to reality, as we like to say. It's very cool. Did I have fun? That's the first question. Absolutely, Johnny. First off, how are you today? I'm doing well, thank you. How about yourself? I see you got 4 months now, renewed your subscription, so thank you for that. We got a new emote from that too. Check that out. Shout out T-Phrase. I see you redeemed that. Okay, so Talladega is a hard track. You did great. I appreciate that. It was definitely a great day for us. I'd say, the only way it could have been better is if we got top 5, top 3, or obviously won it. I had pretty high expectations going into that because I had a lot of confidence in our race team and our equipment at the Superspeedways. It's where the RCR Xfinity teams run. They run great everywhere. Honestly, we're always have speed. But it's the ECR engines, and our Chevrolet Camaros are super fast at the Superspeedway, so I was excited for that one. That was one I had pointed out in the schedule, as well as Daytona later this year, and everything I learned in the draft and leading the pack and managing the gap and managing traffic and all those kinds of things, each lane, that's going to translate really well when I go to Daytona later this year, which I'm really excited about, just because, like I said before, I'm going to be able to apply a lot of things that were unknown to me heading into Talladega. See the 21 iRacing sheet metal there next to the lamp. I know, I'm glad you pointed that out, because before it used to be a 15 truck door from last year. Well, now we got it updated with some actual sheet metal from this year, from the 21 car, which is awesome. It just fits the bill a little bit better, and we're referring to races this year, so it's awesome to have that piece in there now. Adding piece to the collection. I don't have a lot of space in my apartment for this stuff, but one day hopefully I'll have a house and a garage, and I'll be able to hang it all up. How was the package NASCAR gave you? AD said he liked the Cup car. For the Pro Invitational Series race at Talladega, which ours was Saturday Night Thunder, it was called. I liked it. It was it actually handled well, and heck, it might even have been the actual fix setup. I don't even know if they adjusted that much on it. I don't think. No, maybe they did actually. I remember I liked it though. That's all I can remember. I can't remember exactly what was changed, if anything. Thank you, Orbit. Snow Leopard, how are you doing? Dom, thank you. I appreciate that compliment. Adrian, what did you learn from drafting within the field? That's a really great question. So I'll kind of go back to what I mentioned earlier about how the NASCAR trucks are way different. So not only are they quite a bit slower in the pack, but they suck up really well. That you have a lot of toe in the draft to pull up to the car in front of you, get a push from behind, and it's just really easy to maintain the draft. If anything, you're lifting a lot more, using a lot more brake and stuff like that. Whereas in the Xfinity cars, it's they're just so different. The air acts a little bit differently depending on what lane you're in, how many cars are around you, and you're going faster. But at the same time, I feel like you almost don't have as much toe or as much draft. Further in the pack, you definitely do. When I had that pit road speeding penalty and went to the back, there was a crazy amount of energy that I was feeling just in the air, but toward the front it wasn't quite as much, but our car handled really well, so it didn't really get upset and the balance didn't change too much in the draft. I'm doing well, thanks, Snow Leopard. How about yourself? Am I running this weekend at Pocono? No, unfortunately I'm not, and I'm really bummed because if I was, I'd be qualified to be competing for the Dash for Cash, which we all know Xfinity puts on for 4 drivers after a qualifier race. So the top 4 finishers from that week have the opportunity to race in Dash for Cash and whatever race is next. And What that means exactly is you don't have to win the race, but the highest finisher of those 4 drivers wins $100,000. So I'm really bummed I'm not running Pocono next weekend. It would have been awesome to compete for my first Dash for Cash. We actually finished top 4 at Homestead, but the first race didn't count for Dash for Cash. The second race did. But at Talladega, even though we finished 6th, the reason we would have qualified is because one driver who finished in front of us is running for Truck Series points, so he's not eligible, and the other one's not running next week. But obviously I'm not, so can't be too upset about it. Just it is what it is, and we'll have to move on. But I'll be running. I'll be back in the car the following week at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the first ever NASCAR race on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, which should be pretty interesting to say the least. Christian, I appreciate that. TJ, you as well. Dead Poets, what's going on? TJ, it was funny how you tried to pass Cindric because he was letting off on purpose to not push the 8 when coming to the checkered flag. Well, I didn't necessarily try to pass him. I actually was passing the guys outside of me, and I did gain those 2 spots. So I'm really glad I pulled out a line because since I pulled out a line to get, I wasn't going to be able to pass him, not in the distance between where we were at in the tri-oval and the start-finish line, but I passed the 16 car beside us, so I actually gained another position right there. So I'm glad I made that move. That was a good call by Derek Nealon up on the stand. Missed my last couple of iRacing streams, Snow Leopard. It's all good. We'll be back to doing more this week since I'm not racing this weekend. And they've kind of been, there's only been a few, I shouldn't say few and far between, but we've had, 2 or 3 league races a week that we've been streaming. You're now out of 6 full-time drivers in standings with half the starts with a full season. What did you think of your chances at a title if you get a win and a waiver? That's actually a statistic that I didn't even know or realize when I had looked at the point standings. I pay attention to the owners' points. Obviously, I really want to get Richard Childress and RCR as a whole a owners championship this year and do my best since I'm running the majority of the races, and I know my teammates are going to do work their hardest as well to help make that possible. But I did not realize that we were that high in points. I do know that I'm right behind the 7 of Justin Allgaier, which is pretty crazy. That is pretty surreal just in running half the races. It's definitely intense competition at this level, and I don't know. I feel like it's been very humbling because I've exceeded my own expectations. I feel like I set the bar pretty high for myself every time I get on the track, and it's been going really well. And I'd say that everybody else agrees, including you guys watching me race, that it's been going better than a lot of people maybe expected. So it's very rewarding, but I'm never satisfied. I feel like I could always be better. I can always be better, and I try hard to just leave the racetrack knowing I did all I could, and anything, any mistakes or anything's maybe I learned that I could apply the next time to be better is important. So that's why I always just try to grow as a driver and as a team. I think that's been paying off because that's what we've done every week, and we've been very, very consistent. And that's how you win championships. So that kind of goes to the second part of your question is I don't know if I get a waiver if I want to race, but I think we'll be in contention to win some races this year. And, we'll start breaking into the top 5 more frequently. Then it'll be those top 3s, and top 3s are really where we start competing for wins. So I'm excited for that day to come, but we'll just continue to take it one race at a time. What's up, Black? Thank you for the congratulations. John, been following me on track, been looking good. Thank you for that. How's it going? What was it like? Fate Pandas asked, what was it like to go into turn 1 for the first time in an Xfinity car as a green flag flew? So it felt very similar to the last 5 races. It felt only my first of my, so far I've run 6 races in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and only my first race I had practice and qualifying at Auto Club Speedway, and I actually only got half the practice I should have because a car blew their motor, and there was oil on the racetrack they had to clean up, and we lost practice from that. So these last 5 races, I've gone to, except for let's see, Atlanta and the second Homestead race. I hadn't raced at any of those places, and to take the green flag at those tracks has been nerve-wracking with no practice, no qualifying. You just don't know what to expect, and it's made this year even more challenging for me because I feel like you take the whole first stage of the race to get comfortable with how your race car is handling, how to get around the racetrack, the preferred line, all those things. And then from there, you have to be able to, focus on getting your car where it needs to be, not just get comfortable in the car, right? Because I'm still new to these cars. So it's made it more challenging because one stage of the race is a quarter of the race that you're, I don't want to say throwing away, but you're using to learn so much. Whereas if I had practice and things, I could head into the race with a much better idea of where I need to be behind the wheel, and of course where our race car needs to be. So it's made it challenging for everyone, but especially a rookie, a part-time rookie like myself. But it's been going really well nonetheless, even considering the current circumstances, to be running top 5 and top 8 when there's no practice. We're not qualifying. We had to start in the back multiple weeks. I feel like that's a big testament to our race team and what we're capable of this year, and we'll continue to get better. So it's definitely been nerve-wracking sending it off into turn 1 at these new tracks, and even the places I've been to, it's so different because the Xfinity cars drive so different. So even though I'm going to these new tracks, it still just feels so different, so new. You're racing a more competitive field of cars and drivers. So there's a lot of different emotions and more adrenaline pumping and all these things, but I treat it like I treat every race the same. I'm just there to do my job, and my job's to get as great a finish as possible for our race team. Ultimately win if we can. So I've just been trying to take it race by race and lap by lap even. T. Phrase, have you been using iRacing or Sim to practice since there's not any real life racing or practice? Always wondered that for new guys, rookies in a new car, how behind the 8 ball they are. So that kind of goes back to what I was saying before, and that's where iRacing has, had an even larger impact on my career than it's ever had before, because I've never not had practice, not been able to qualify, and all sorts of things like that. So just getting, at the very least, a visual for these new racetracks and all these types of things, it's helped me tremendously just to try to lessen that learning curve, just at least a little bit. And of course, working with Chevrolet and the GM Sim guys to better prepare myself for upcoming races as well, and everybody at Richard Childress Racing. We have a great group of people, and I have great teammates, Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick in the Cup Series, and to be able to lean on them is very valuable for me as well, because they have so much experience. And Tyler's a back-to-back Xfinity championship, just got out of the cars from last year, and Austin's been in the Cup Series for quite a while now. He's won races in the Xfinity Series, and he won an Xfinity Series championship. So to be able to rely on them is, or not necessarily rely, but lean on them for that information going to these new tracks, or what can I expect out of the car, because they've driven not just an Xfinity car, but an RCR Xfinity car, and they've worked with the same people. So that's very valuable. Kind of shifter do you have, H pattern or sequential? So all the NASCAR stock cars are not sequential. They're H pattern shifters, 4-speed transmissions. But it's a great question for you to ask that, Brendan, because I guess it's coming out in 2022 now. It was supposed to come out next year, but the next gen Cup car is actually a sequential shifter. I believe it's a 6-speed, if I'm not mistaken, or that's what they've tested at least. Josh, thank you so much, man. I wish you were at the track, and Talladega was your first race with me last year too, so that was it was weird not having you there, but it was definitely another solid weekend. But it was probably the best one so far to be able to lead laps and run in the top 3, top 5 most of the day. And as I said earlier, we really weren't ever out of the top 5 except for, or out of the top 10 except for when I had that pit road speeding penalty, which we actually lucked out with, because if it weren't for the caution, we were able, we had to go to the rear of the field, and that stunk and everything, and it hurt us a little bit, but we were able to recover from it. Well, if the caution didn't come out, we would have had to serve a pass-through penalty, and that would have been even worse for us. My mouse just completely stopped working. And I can't scroll through chat now. Hold on.
Here, just use this. It's live. You just
Oh,
have to scroll up.
Perfect. I'll pull it up on my phone.
Is that okay?
This will work well.
Okay.
So now I'm sorry, I have to read the comments off my phone because my mouse literally freaked out. I think my Razor was updating, but it just freaked out, and now it won't let me even use my mouse or keyboard. Okay, so now I'm looking at my phone. I'm sorry about that. Robinson, how you doing, my man? You will win a race this year. I think so too. I have a lot of confidence in our race team, our equipment, and everything I've been learning. I think we're only going to get better as a team and put ourselves in position, and that's all you can do. Once you put yourself in position so many times, it's only a matter of time before you are able to close the deal and finally execute. Buddy, thank you for subscribing as well. Welcome to the Sauce Mafia. This is like a mini press conference. Basically, it's like a mini private press conference for everyone who supports me and watches me race. It's cool to do this, and I love going back to the race weekend and talking about things I learned, things I experienced, and answering any questions you guys may have. I know a lot of you have listened on the NASCAR app to my actual team communications on the scanner, which is really cool because you get an inside look at everything, and it's awesome NASCAR has that for fans to be able to do. But this is a regular occurrence. Usually we do it on Monday. We kind of have to do it later in the day. Hopefully everyone's home from work and able to tune in. We actually did it an hour later than normal. It seems to be better. A lot more people are in here. But obviously the Cup race was delayed from Sunday or postponed from Sunday to yesterday. So I just didn't do it yesterday since the race started at 3 and ran till, I don't know, maybe 6:30 or 7 or something. And then I didn't want to do it right after the race because people were just kind of referring to news about the Cup Series race. Will I be at Dover? As of now, yes. I haven't heard when we're going there yet. We've been playing it by ear, and every couple weeks NASCAR has an updated schedule for the fans and for us race teams. And we find out when you do, or at least I do. So I can't tell you when we're going where other than what's been announced. But we're playing it by ear. NASCAR's been doing a great job working with all the racetracks, their partners, and all the NASCAR personnel. So to be able to be putting on races for you guys to watch on television and now be slowly weaning our way back and having fans at the racetrack is incredible. So I hope everyone's been tuning in, and hopefully we will be at Dover soon with fans. No, I won the Pro Invitational Series Saturday Night Thunder race at Dover on iRacing. So biggest iRacing race I ever won. We'll see if we go from sim to reality and win it in real life. Even though you didn't qualify for Dash for Cash, I think something better will come this year for you. I appreciate that. I think so too. That means a lot to me, bud. TJ, I feel racing has been so much more competitive and closer without practice. I 100% agree. So I was just on the phone with a good friend of mine, Dylan Smith, the other day, and he actually, we were saying, from a fan perspective, I love it, especially watching the Cup Series. You see guys who maybe don't always run up front because they're with smaller teams, and the bigger teams aren't able to necessarily fine-tune their equipment and make big changes as they can in practice, because during the race and a pit stop, you can only make, minor adjustments or chassis adjustments, stuff like that, right? So the racing's been very exciting and fun to watch. You see guys make mistakes that they don't normally make because there's less track time in the weekend. But I hate it as a part-time rookie because it's just, as I was going back to what I said earlier about taking up the first stage of a race to kind of get acclimated and figure stuff out. And heck, Superspeedway racing last weekend, I was learning the whole race. I'm always learning the whole race, but the first stage in particular is always where it's just so much going on. You're just trying to interpret and figure it out and feel out as much as you can. Always wanted to try Dude Wipes. How are they? They're awesome, man. Impulse. All right, the best ones though, I will say. So what I also love about dude wipes. They have it's called a dude shower, and it's like a full body wipe. So when I get out of the car, I sweat so much. Like, obviously everyone does because it's really hot in the race car, but I sweat a lot more than others, and that kind of goes back to that hydration conversation we had last week, referring to the doubleheader at Homestead and how I hydrated and the nutrition side of things. Well, all that sweat, it's all over me. The dude body wipe helps a lot before I put my clean clothes back on for a 5.5 hour ride home or hopping on the plane. Impulse, I appreciate that. Nicely's. Let's yeah, I need to get back to you on Discord about that. Exclamation point Discord in the chat if you want to join the Discord. And exclamation point giveaway to find out about our giveaway at 5,000 followers here on Twitch. We're actually pretty close, I think, to I think we're around 4,000 now, which is awesome. Giving away a Logitech G29 wheel and pedal set to someone who needs it and wants to get into iRacing. And that's all thanks to Joey14fan somewhere here in the stream. It's an awesome giveaway, and very excited to help someone out. Rip mouse. Of course I broke, so I'm way behind on chat. I'm trying to answer all these questions. I'm sorry. I'm going way too in depth. Let me know if I need to like be more brief. I don't know if that's better or not. A lot of you like when I go when I explain stuff well, but at the same time I get off track sometimes or ramble on. Next race is Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course on July 4th. About to hit 3K IR on iRacing. Congrats, Lack. Thank you, everyone, who's saying I did well. I really appreciate that. I appreciate everyone's support. I say that in I do my post-race video, and everyone who supports me, it means so much to me. It makes me so motivated every time I go to the racetrack to know you guys are watching and listening on the scanner and tuning into the race, and you're in the Discord chatting amongst yourselves about the race. It's really cool to look back on after the race, and that's why I always thank the race team and my partners, everyone who's put me in this position, my family and friends for supporting me, and I always thank you guys, of course, as well, because number one, race fans in general, the sport wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't be able to do what we do, but I'm so thankful. I have the most incredible fan base, and I love live stream in this Twitch community in particular. It's so unique and always fun to be on here. Whether we're just chatting like this or streaming iRacing, Call of Duty, you name it. Who do you see in the truck or even ARCA series that could make a good push next year? Seems like NASCAR has a lot of new young talent in all their series. That is a really great question. So I think the truck series is very competitive this year, as it always is. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to be coming up through the ranks, especially in ARCA just got back recently. They got back to their racing schedule, and Talladega didn't look like they had a bunch of cars. So I'm curious to see how that plays out the rest of the year, if they continue to have more drivers each race and more competitive races. But I definitely see people in the truck series moving up and, hopefully climbing the ranks as I'm trying to do myself. You're going to take off, Try. Well, have a great rest of your evening. Thanks for tuning in. Your friend introduced you to Dude Wipes. Dylan will tell your friend he's awesome. Let's see here. Where are we at? Joey fan, I appreciate the support. And Lack, you asked, which driver have you been able to learn from the most on track? Well, that's a hard question to answer because I don't know if there's just one driver. I think it just depends where you're running each weekend and where the competition's running. But I'd say in general, when you compete in the top 10, it is so competitive and you can learn a lot from all those guys. There's a lot of veterans, a lot of experienced drivers, a lot of fast cars running inside the top 10 or even the top 12 for that matter. And I'd say without practice and stuff like that, I mean, honestly, I've just leaned on my teammate Tyler Reddick, who I know he doesn't compete in the series anymore, but I've been able to ask him a lot of questions, recently and watching his onboard cameras, rewatching last year's racing, and races and as I study film preparing for upcoming events, he's been a huge help to me for sure. So I'd say he's probably who I've learned the most from, even though I haven't competed against him on track in the series. Is crashing painful, Dylan Stuff? Yeah, I mean, you hope it's not. Usually you just get, it depends how you hit, where you hit, how hard you hit. But it's always kind of just based on, like I said, the angle, the speed, how hard the impact was, and it might make you sore the next day or give you a headache, stuff like that. There is now a fixed super late model series on iRacing. Well, I'm definitely going to have to hop on that. You guys like when I go into detail. Okay. What does race day for you consist of? How do you prepare to get your mind and body right? So, as far as getting my body right, that begins way before race day. The beginning of the week. And obviously, if you race that weekend, you're following that race up. For example, we'll race the Talladega Superspeedway on Saturday. Immediately follow up with rehydrating, getting the proper foods, in me to refuel my body, and just get back to where I started the week. And now it's preparing for the next week. So that's doing the same thing, eating the right things, drinking plenty of fluids, the right fluids, eating the right things, and obviously training, getting yourself as in shape as possible, or keeping yourself in shape. And a big thing is recovery, not just with nutrients, but also physically, whether foam rolling, ice baths, massage therapy, all kinds of things like that is something I've been taking way more seriously than ever, and it's been helping me out a lot. Which track have you been able to learn the quickest? So far this year, or in general, my whole career? This year, probably Homestead. Homestead was the one I picked up the quickest. Talladega, but super speedways are just so unique here. It's like comparing apples to oranges. Everything's just so different about it. When will you be posting your vital stats? Orbit, thank you for always reminding me that. So I will screenshot them right now off my phone because I actually have them. So why don't we go over them quickly so we can, you guys can see what I go throughout a race. So I accidentally let my watch run long this weekend, but this is what we have for stats. So let's see if it'll focus. Ooh, the ring light's in the way. I don't know if that's going to work. Okay, well, I'll just read it off. So I accidentally shut my watch off way too late because I did an interview for Fox Sports 1 for the broadcast, which unfortunately didn't air because I guess the race went a little long because of the 2 red flags we had, and they cut to another event, which was an event replay. So it's unfortunate my interview didn't make the broadcast because it was a great one, but I'll definitely have to hopefully gain access to it, and I could post on social media for y'all to listen to. But it was just about our day overall, and it was really cool I had that opportunity. I wish I made it on television though, but it's all good. Anyways, because of that and some other things, I let my watch run long, or my heart rate monitor run long. So the duration's a little bit long, which also means my average heart rate's lower because I was cooling down. But nonetheless, just where it was at is 3 hours, 7 minutes, which it was probably somewhere in 2 hour 50 range. Average heart rate is 151, probably closer to 155, a little higher maybe. Maybe just closer to 160 in general. 2,462 calories total, and max heart rate was 181 beats per minute. 36% was fat burn. So it's pretty interesting information, and there's a lot more. There's also this really cool graph, which you can look at and just see the heart rate and the target heart rate zones. But as you can see, the end is really low, and it's in the blue because the race was over. Or no, I'm sorry, that was the beginning, because of pace laps and stuff. So at the very end over here, you can see where it dropped down, and it went for probably 10-15 minutes too long. Oop, almost dropped my phone. So let's get back to these questions here. You like comparing race to race. That's why you like to see them more, bro. Well, I love that. So the vital stats were surprising. I think the coolest was the Homestead back-to-back. How I ran the same track was relatively the same. Well, the race was the same distance, but obviously with cautions and stuff, the duration was a little bit different. But it's cool to see how I improved just literally the next day. What type of track do you enjoy the most? I really love short track racing, but I do enjoy the intermediate track racing as well. And after Talladega last weekend, I love Superspeedway racing. That was my first time actually racing with a restrictor plate too, because we didn't have those in the truck series. Oh, my mouse is working again. I don't have to keep going off the phone, I guess. Let's see if I can find where I'm. I'll keep it on, but okay, I'll go back. So yeah, I really enjoy that. Really all kinds of racing. There isn't a track I've been to that I don't like. So far at least I've been fortunate. You would think super speedways are more concerned around racecraft rather than the track themselves. Yeah, it's more. So it's interesting you bring that up. I'm glad you brought that up because super speedways seem to be more mentally challenging than physically challenging. I'd imagine running the Cup car 500 miles gets very physically challenging. The Xfinity car was, wasn't easy, obviously, but mentally it's stressful, man. It's just picking the right lane, and when you're leading, being able to manage all the lanes and just do everything right. It's just so difficult. And even pitting, green flag pit stop, I've never had to hit pit road at 200 miles per hour, and pit road speed is 55. So imagine slowing your car down from 200 miles an hour to 55 miles an hour in, maybe the length of a football field. It's tremendously difficult, and with no practice, nearly impossible. Not without really babying it, and I couldn't afford to baby it because we were making a green flag stop as a group. Us, Richard Childress Racing, and our colleague racing teammates. So since it was a green flag stop, so I did all I could there, but. That was a really difficult part of it. And then, rebounding from that, right? And that goes back to the mental side of things, which you could face in other races. But I think the most specific part of that at a super speedway race would be being towards the back of the pack when they're running single file against the wall and you can hardly pass. It's not easy. And you just have to have patience. And sure enough, it paid off because we rebounded from that. Granted, we might have been in a little bit of a better position, finished a couple spots better, but I feel like we got just about all we could out of the race come the end. And honestly, some people consider finishing a super speedway race a successful day, but to lead laps, run up front, and finish sixth. That's our second sixth place finish actually this year. My first came in my series debut at Auto Club Speedway. That's another awesome day for us. Do you get nervous before and or during races? If so, how badly? So that's a great question, Dylan. During, not usually. You might get yourself in a peculiar situation. That was difficult. Oof. You get in a interesting situation where your heart rate might spike, and that's where you can see that on my heart rate data after the race. But in that situation, it happens so fast, you're kind of just relying on your instinct and prior knowledge, I guess, to get yourself out of situations. You have to react so fast, especially in a race car anywhere because you're going so fast, but especially at a super speedway in particular. So I would say during a race, but leading up to a race, about to take the green flag, or when you're strapping in, definitely. But it's the good nervous. It's not nervous like scared nervous. It's the excited nerves, right? Where you're about to take the green flag, you have kind of butterflies in your stomach, you're ready to get to work, ready to go do what you love, and go get the job done for your race team, your sponsors, and everyone who supports you like you guys. So it's a really cool feeling, and that's one of my favorite parts about racing. If you don't have that feeling, I feel like you don't love it. Just go win a race and we could see your interview. That's a good point, Lack. Someone else said that on Twitter because I tweeted, I'm like, did anyone see it? My parents said the broadcast cut to this, and they didn't see it, and I was like, where can I get this, whatever, and everyone's like, no, we didn't see it, and they're like, just win, they'll make sure it's on TV. I'm like, well, that's a good point. You're welcome, Zeds. I appreciate sharing next year into fitness, and you find that interesting. Well, that's awesome, and I'm glad I could provide some of that insight. That's the whole point of this. All kinds of questions, not just referring to the race in general that we competed in previously, but of course, just racing in general. I guess we have a lot of new NASCAR fans too. So any general questions? There isn't a question that's less important than another, or necessarily better than any others. They're all awesome questions, and I love answering them for you all. As you can tell, I love talking racing. That's why I get so carried away with my responses, I guess you could say. I'm not racing Pocono, unfortunately. I really wish I was. Dylan says when he gets in the go-kart race, his heart rate's so fast, got a little bit of an anxiety, but when you push that throttle down, it turns into a fire and you're ready to get to work. I love it. That's the same way, man. If you're off this weekend, would you be special guest Friday night? You do 5 midget race back to... Oh, it's on iRacing. You got a series on iRacing. I'll have to see if I'll be able to, as long as I don't have anything to do for the race team, because the race is Sunday, so the team won't be leaving till later than usual. So I'll have to check and make sure we don't have anything going on, but if so, I'd love the opportunity to do that. Have you ever visited Indianapolis Motor Speedway? That's your hometown. Indianapolis also has the oldest figure 8 track worth a visit. I did not know that. That's a very interesting fact, and I actually have never been to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is why I was so excited to run on the oval this year in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, which arguably is one of the best races of the year. But now it's on the road course, which I'm not too upset about, because I think with that there's either 5 or 6 road courses on the schedule. So if I'm going to run full-time next season and go compete for a championship, I definitely need the experience, and I need to learn that. And if there was a place I was going to pick, it would be the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, because of the fact that nobody else has raced there yet in NASCAR or in a stock car. So there, you know what I mean? Everywhere else, people have been there before and they know how to get around the track, and it puts me at a little bit of a disadvantage. But we'll all have practice and such, so people are going to be able to figure it out maybe quicker than others. But I still think it puts me on a little bit more of an even playing field, kind of in the same boat as most others. So I'm excited about that, although I do want to run on the oval for sure, just for the experience and obviously because of what it is. So first experience, first time at the racetrack is going to be racing, but kind of not how I originally expected. Do you see yourself driving full-time next season? Well, that's the plan. That's a great question. I definitely want to go compete for a championship with Richard Childress Racing. I know we have everything necessary, all the tools to go do that. I honestly think if we were running this year, we could have a solid run for the points or through the playoffs. But we're not in that position. But nonetheless, I'm still thankful to be doing what I'm doing. I'm blessed to be in the position I am. I'm in nonetheless, because I'm still racing a lot this year. I'm racing more than I raced last year and even the year before that. So I got to be very thankful for all of our partners and everybody at RCR, and of course all you for supporting me. It's been quite the journey, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be yet, but this year is a big year for me to prove myself, learn a lot, and translate that into what we hope to be a full-time season next year, so I can apply what I learned and all the chemistry I built and have been building with the race team and our current partners and new sponsors that are coming on board with us, so that we can have an awesome year next season. You didn't flip. I appreciate that, Ty. Well, that's a good point. I guess that's a successful Superspeedway race, right? If you don't end up on your lid. That's what AJ was telling me before the race started. I'm like, you pump, man? And he said, well, I've been on my lid more times than I haven't at this place, so I don't know. And I was like, oh, not the first words of advice I wanted to hear. Red Dirt Ranch rated with a party of 54. Welcome to the stream, everyone from Red Dirt Ranch. I know you've rated the channel before, so I appreciate that, and I love when you guys come tune in. I hope you had an awesome stream. And right now we're doing a post-race Q&A, as I do every week, following my race that previous weekend, wherever that was. And if I'm racing the next weekend, we kind of do a pre-race Q&A, not just a post-race Q&A. Does the heat distract you while you're racing, or do you not only notice it when there's a caution red flag? You just get used to it, and you have to deal with it. So, I mean, if you're focused on that, then at that point, you're falling out of the seat, as we like to say. You're deteriorating, you're fatigued, you're not 100% focused and mentally there. So you don't really acknowledge it. But under the red flag, that's a good point you bring up, or under caution, everything slows down. You kind of come from instinct to this position of more acknowledgement of what's around you. And under the red flag, especially on the back straight, where the sun was just beaming right in our eyes, and it was super hot and uncomfortable. So I was excited to just get back rolling, get back to racing. I just wanted to. I was having so much fun, and it's kind of weird. It almost resets your mind. You go from all this adrenaline and racing side by side at 200 miles per hour, and very tightly together, to just stopped, and you're just sitting there, and you have a lot to think about and stuff. But it could be a good thing sometimes, because sometimes you need that to be able to think about things and figure things out before you get rolling again. I finished 6th, TDAC, so I see you didn't get to watch the race, but we led laps and ran up front majority of the day, which was awesome. You got some dude wipes, Johnny McDevitt. That's what I like to hear. Love it, love it. Fate Pandas, do you think they'll make a short practice session for people to learn the road course? Yes, there's actually 2 short sessions, or what we normally have. I think they might be 55 minutes, or a 55-minute session and a 30-minute session, possibly. Johnny Hockey came from the raid. Red Dirt Ranch, I'm doing well, thanks. How about yourself? Campbell Gaming. New Wish. Too bad they don't do IRP. I would love to run Indianapolis Raceway Park. That'd be so much fun. I see them running the ARCA series, and I always wanted to run that race, even in ARCA car, because that track looks super, super fun. They need to go back there. I know Xfinity used to. I think that was when it was the Nationwide series. They went there. We all wish we were in the spot, put in the work, and it paid off. I appreciate that, Johnny. I definitely have worked very hard, and I'm not done working hard. I'm never satisfied. I always trying to be better. I know I can be better, and I love what I do. I want to be as good as possible as it and make the most out of the opportunities I have. So that's why I put 100% into every race, every lap, and work really hard on and off the track. So that means a lot to me, you saying that. Was that your first plate race? Technically, that was my first restrictor plate race, because when I raced Talladega last year in the trucks don't run restrictor plates with the Ilmor motors. So, and they run around there at about, in the draft, about 185. Obviously, it's much, much slower, single truck or single car. Even in a car, it's much slower without the draft. Seconds a lap slower, and your top speeds and average speeds much less. But the Xfinity cars, we had a restrictor plate, but in the draft, you're going around 200 miles per hour. So it was very different. Red Dirt Ranch, congrats on the Dega race, sir. Love watching, seeing you do so well. I appreciate that. It's cool, too, to see the Twitch community in particular support that and watch the race. It's awesome. And just to hop back on Twitch back in the week and just be on iRacing and racing with all my iRacing friends and playing video games with my friends and co-streaming is always cool. Just kind of get back to the norm, I guess you could say, or just kind of, a little more casual side of things. Thank you, Campbell, for the kind words. Emerson, weirdest red flag thought. I haven't had anything weird. It's always regarding the race, other than maybe having to pee really bad during a red flag. But that's all I can think of. Are you going to kiss the bricks whether you win or lose? Probably only if I win. That's a good question, though, One Shot Peterson. All right. Any other questions? regarding the Talladega Superspeedway NASCAR Xfinity Series race last weekend on Saturday. And any questions regarding Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course in 2 weeks, since I'm not running Pocono this weekend. That'll be my next one. 2015 vision. So that was under caution. Or actually, no, that was right when the red flag was lifted and we went back caution. I told my spotter I had 2015 vision, because I do, according to my eye doctor, have great vision. But it was really, the sun was like right in my eyes, and I told my spotter, I'm like, I was just letting him know it's a little tricky to see at about the 3/8 mark getting into turn 3, in between turns 3 and 4. And he was saying he thought I need better vision. That was funny. That's funny you bring that up, though, because, yeah, that was kind of just under cautions at the Superspeedway. They take so long. The laps are so long, even under green, which would go by faster than you expect when you're behind the wheel. But under caution, you just sometimes start talking about random stuff. Even though you're young, even though I'm younger than you, I was like your dad watching. Every time you'd had a hole, I'd be yelling, drop, drop, drop. Ty, that's so funny, man. It's even watching races back myself, I'll be like, oh, go, go. And I'll be like, oh, why didn't I do that? Or why did I do that? You know, just, it's funny just to go back and watch races. And that's how you learn. That's more important than people realize, to go back and rewatch races, in yourself in particular. Lack, is it hard to balance shifting, steering, and working gas and brakes on a road course? Yeah, it's much different than oval racing. It's just totally different, totally different discipline of racing. And even though we're in our cars that we usually drive, you have to drive it differently. And being able to adapt to that and get acclimated is important, because all those things, hitting your shifts right, not missing a shift, apexing each corner properly, how much curb do you want to use, if any, threshold brake or maintenance brake or trail brake, and, how aggressive can you be on the gas. Those are all things that technically, apply everywhere, right? But you're doing it so much more per lap on a road course, and the way you brake and stuff is typically different. So, it's difficult to balance, just because it's not what we typically practice and do week in and week out. But that's what makes it fun, for me at least. That's why on iRacing, during my iRacing live streams, I've really enjoyed running dirt cars, road racing, dirt road, all kinds of stuff like that, because it's so different than what I'm used to, and it's you kind of learn different. Oh, sorry, that was an alert. But you kind of learn different things that you can apply, which is always interesting. Dylan, I noticed how much you have improved through the 2020 season. Have you been working hard with RCR to become better? Letting out inner reporter right now. Yeah, definitely. I think I've just been trying to take advantage of every opportunity I have, because I did not really have any plans to be racing this year, or didn't know what I was going to be doing. And this is such an incredible opportunity that, just an amazing door that opened up, right? And I want to take full advantage of it. A lot of people believe in me. A lot of people help me be in this position, I guess you could say. So I want to make everyone proud and take advantage of it to better myself. And as we talked about earlier, hopefully compete full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series next year. So that translates to on and off track, just being better off the track as a person, as a role model, building my brand. And of course, training physically, being on the simulator, making the most of that, so that when we go to the racetrack, that much better. And who knew we wouldn't have practice or qualifying or any of this would have happened. So that was, even before any of that. And now that's the position we're in, all of that has become that much more relevant, that much more important. So I appreciate you acknowledging our success and getting better week in and week out. And as I also mentioned earlier, I'm just taking it race by race and just trying to get better as we go. As a whole team, I think I actually have really great chemistry with everyone on my team. Everyone in the shop, everyone at RCR, our road crew, my crew chief, everyone on the team, my pit crew, my spotter, and that has definitely been showing. And it's huge part of your success on the track. And in addition to that, it's just everybody on the team wants to win as bad as I do and wants to succeed badly, which is really cool because we all push each other to be better, and I think we all have the same goals, same expectations, and to be able to reach those and achieve, what we kind of set forth to do is very rewarding to do as a team. When are you going to run that cool scheme from a couple weeks ago? Which scheme exactly are you talking about? Because every scheme this year has been absolutely fire. We've had sick paint schemes. The Dude Weiss paint scheme this weekend, our Death Wish Coffee paint scheme, the iRacing paint scheme is beautiful, the Anderson's Maple Syrup paint scheme from Auto Club. We've had some really awesome paint schemes. And we had a bunch of cool ones on iRacing, too, that it's been cool to run some of the schemes I've run on iRacing in real life. Or schemes that I've been inspired by them, at least. You're like a mini spotter group in the Discord watch party. I love that, How Nuggets. Yeah, exclamation point Discord in the chat if you want to join the Discord. Do you think if they started the Cup race soon on Sunday, they could have got the race in? Probably would have got at least halfway, which is what they need to get in for if the rain, if it's not a short rain delay, they have to end the race at halfway. That's all they need. They probably could have got halfway, but I'm always supportive of NASCAR's decision and making the right move because it's not always just about what's the easiest. There's so much more as far as partners, people behind the scenes, television time slots, and all sorts of stuff that just a lot of us don't consider or think about. So I'm just glad they were able to get the race in yesterday. Love road course racing. Fake Pandas, have you ever done a race in a road course car, or will Indy be your first road race in a proper race car? I have raced a BMW 3 Series car, an M3, in a 12-hour race at New Jersey Motorsports Park, and then I ran 2 QnA road course races, and that's it. So I've done it. Both those were 2 years ago, so I definitely need a little bit of a refresher, and it'll be my first in an Xfinity car, which is both heavier, faster, and just a lot of things will be different, not to mention new track. What happens more, drivers reaching out to sponsors or sponsors reaching out to drivers? That's a really good question. It kind of depends on the position you're in. I think lately, having the successful runs I've been having and making a name for myself has led to some really cool opportunities and conversations. But that doesn't stop us from working really hard off track. I'm sorry. I've been very fortunate to work with Team Dillon Management and Austin Dillon's group, Austin Craven. They've been very helpful to help me kind of continue to progress and develop off the track and create, or establish, I should say, some really incredible relationships. All right, we'll see you, Zeds. Thanks for tuning in. Newish, when bump drafting, do the other drivers still hit so hard they almost wreck the other car like they used to do in the 90s? So it actually can depend on your car handling or how hard you get bumped. But yeah, it is a handful, especially if it's the end of the race and you're pushing really hard trying to clear the top or bottom lane or whichever one has the advantage. And when you're pushing that hard, the driver being pushed usually has their hands full. And if you're the pusher, you got to make sure you do it right to make it as smooth as possible for the one being pushed, right? You don't want to wreck them, and you're trying to take advantage, especially when you're working with a teammate. You really don't want to wreck a teammate. You don't want to wreck anyone, especially at a Superspeedway, because we've seen the big one isn't if it will happen, it's when it will happen, because everyone's running so close and so tight together that if a car gets turned, especially in the front of the field, it's going to cause a huge wreck. You've been sponsored by people on your dream sponsored list. Way to go. I appreciate that, Dylan. I definitely have been very fortunate to work with some amazing partners and really cool sponsors over the years, and this year especially. Someone redeemed a hydrate and a dab. Well, I don't have any water right now, but can I just Does that count? And a dab, I got you. I don't have space for this arm, so I can't, like, push it out. That's all I got. I had to go, like, up. Sorry. I'm at my office setup right now. What's going on? How you doing, S Racing? Long time no see. You tore a hole in the carpet watching the race. Well, I appreciate that. Snow Leopard, I got you. There we go. I went that way. That way I got full extension, proper form. Do the points, the pasta points, pop up in the chat on the stream? I don't believe so. I see the comments, but I don't think so. Everyone who's gonna watch this replay on YouTube are gonna be so confused because they're just gonna see me dabbing and like. First of all, I didn't even drink anything. I pretended like I drank something because I don't have any water with me. But for those of you who don't know, or whoever's watching this later, on my Twitch channel, fast_pasta, we have pasta points, and the more you watch, the more pasta points you gain, and you can redeem points, which is, have me take a sip of water, or dabbing, or you can guide the raid, and we can put the, raid somebody. You can customize an emote. You can do all kinds of stuff. And emotes look like this. I'll put them in the chat, by the way. There's the win ones. There's the traditional pasta ones. There's the wrecked ones. We've got some new ones coming out too, guys. So stay tuned for that. Ready for this weekend? I am. Unfortunately, I'm not running Pocono, but I will be back in the seat at Indy, and that's what we were talking about earlier. Well, I think that's about it. Just over an hour. Phenomenal live stream. I love chatting with you all after a race and discussing all kinds of things, talking all about racing and each race in particular, or questions regarding our previous competition and leading into our next one as well. So thank you all for tuning in, and I appreciate the support. I hope you all enjoyed the stream. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be back on Twitch with some iRacing events this week, and I gotta get back on the Call of Duty grind. I haven't played Warzone in a little while, but I want to play more of that and some other games coming out, and nonetheless, I hope you're all doing well, you're staying safe, and your family and friends are doing well as well. That was kind of weird. They came out weird. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Bye.